Hey everyone, Al Fragnoli, Zach Sooty, League of Leaders. We're joined this evening by Kris Koch. Kris is the Senior Manager of Events and Athletics for Park and Recreation for the City of Clearwater, Florida. Kris, thanks so much for coming on with us.
Yeah, it's great to be here, guys. Thanks for having me on.
We got quite a few questions lined up for you this evening. The first one we'll start with is you started your journey in the sports or event management world by spending over 7 years with the Fort Myer Miracle of the Minnesota Twins organization. From there, you went on to work with the Pittsburgh Pirates, the Bradenton Marauders, and now into your current role with the City of Clearwater. Talk to us a little bit about your stops in baseball and what you did with each of those two organizations.
Yeah, great. I love reliving this because it's always fun to go back down that winding road to find out how I got to where I am. So I actually was with the Twins and Miracle probably closer to 9 years. I just spent the first about year and a half of it doing any and everything I could, even without a paycheck. So my first job there, if we want to call it a job, is I had been applying for an internship my last year of college with the Miracle, and wasn't getting any callbacks, wasn't hearing back from anybody. So I ended up just going over to the stadium and ran into somebody that was there that ended up being the concessions manager, and just said, "Hey, I'm just trying to get in, and I'll work for free." And his eyes lit up when he heard that word, "work for free." And so I cleaned concession stands for the first spring training and into the Miracle season. The young man that had the internship ended up quitting about a couple weeks into finding out he had to work 80 hours a week. And so I ended up getting that internship because I was there and convenient and already working for free. So working for $8 an hour wasn't too much of a stretch for me. So I did that internship there. The next year, the concessions assistant had quit, so I moved into a full-time job there, and the next year I became the concessions manager. I did that for about a year and a half, and then took over merchandise sales and a lot of other parts of the operation. And over the course of the 7-8 years there, I got to do every job in the ballpark, from wrapping hot dogs on Education Day to working the golf tournament and holding up the slingshot for the slingshot hole, to being on the fun team, dressing up in something we probably couldn't do now, but the drag queens, where we would dress up and drag and go drag the field in between innings. So got to do just about everything. Learned sales and marketing. Learned how to go out on meetings and appointments with real professionals, and use that one tie that I had to wear out to meetings and fake it until I made it. But when I ended up leaving Fort Myers, I had progressed up to the role of vice president with the organization, working for Steve Bliner the whole time that I was there. We'll get into leadership, and he's a good one to talk about there. But worked for him, and then decided that marriage was in my future. When I turned 30, met Amanda, who worked in baseball also. She worked for the Phillies at the time. And Fort Myers to Clearwater was a little too far. And so because of some relationships I had being in the league for 7-8 years, I knew Trevor, and I knew Rochelle and some of the people in Bradenton, and was able to land a job there so that I could get married and live a little closer to where we were both driving to work. I don't know if you guys will recall this, but in Bradenton, I was hired as for development, to go out and find sponsors, and I did that for a few months until the second game of spring training. After the first game, it was the first year that some of the operations got taken in-house, and I had a lot of experience in operations. And we saw some things in that first game that were like, oh man, we could probably get a lot better in those areas, like not having one person counting all the money in the entire operation, and just letting it stack up all over the place. And so by that second game, I took over a completely different role with the Pirates, and working in operations and working at McKechnie Field specifically, kind of overseeing that part of the Pirates operations. And and got to meet you guys and got to meet a lot of other great people there in that time in Bradenton. And then, just the hours and the really, really valuing community and wanting to get closer with Amanda and and growing a family and having community and things like that. Driving an hour each way to work really, really was taking a toll. So was able to fortunately get a job in Clearwater, and a whole different kind of a change for me working in special events in Clearwater. But was able to get up there, did that for a few years until kind of been progressing in my role in Clearwater, and now I actually oversee the athletics and events operation. So I still get to use all the wonderful lessons and tools that I developed in minor league baseball, even in my current job, 15 years later.
Kriss, that was awesome. The moral from that story that I really gathered is first of all, offer free services, offer your talents for free somewhere, and go somewhere where the person above you hates their job so much they're going to quit, so you get to move up. So that's fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a common denominator on why everybody was miserable around me, but I guess it ended up working out okay for me.
Perfect.
That's good stuff, Kriss. Now, you started to talk about your current role. Right now, it's a unique role. It has you doing all types of different things, including planning, operations, event management. Tell us a little bit about that role, the wide range of duties that you have, and some of the projects you've worked on.
Yeah. So it is split between athletics and special events, which there are obviously a ton of overlying aspects to running events and running tournaments and sporting events as well. So that's really helped in that. So we do in Clearwater, we have several music festivals that we run every year. So I've gotten to contract negotiations and really learning how to go through and pre-planning large events. We're also fortunate I get to get involved with some of the buildings and the facilities and the maintenance of those facilities. So that's been an interesting thing. And then really just from the sports world, Clearwater is a huge sports tourism destination. We were one of the first people to really call it that, from a municipal government perspective, to really see the value in having the nicest facilities around, not just so that it's a feather in your cap, but so that you can use that to develop partnerships and leverage people to bring tournaments and events into Clearwater. So not only do we get the benefit of having cool events in our town, but the heads and beds and the bed tax revenue and all the benefits that come with having tournaments and games and things in Clearwater. So a couple of the cool unique things that we've developed here is we have MLS soccer has started doing spring training, and we have two teams in Clearwater that we host, the DC United and the Philadelphia Union. They are just scratching the surface on what the potential and possibilities are for spring training soccer, with how soccer is getting more and more popular in the US. And so for us to be on the ground level of that, being the first ones to really have a spring training environment, that's going to set us up with those relationships we've developed for years and years to come. We also, with some of our, again, having really nice facilities, we're in the middle of, where COVID kind of canceled it this year, but this would have been the third year of an agreement with ESPN to host the ESPN Elite Invitational, which is a women's collegiate softball event that we do in Clearwater. Last year it had, I believe it was 12 of the 16 teams in the field were in the top 25 in the country. So, I mean, top level. The first year, and I'll admit it, I was a little ignorant on how popular women's collegiate softball is, because I'm a baseball guy. You always have that bias there. But we put tickets out on sale, and we sold it out within a week. Not almost 90% of the ticket sales were from people outside of Pinellas County. So you talk about a popular event that brings people in from all over the country. We had UCLA was in the tournament, Oregon, Minnesota, and you had all these giant pockets of people traveling in February from Minnesota, Oregon, California, and buying these group of tickets. And it was really, really fun. And then also the cool factor of being able to flip it on ESPN and see your hometown, an event that you helped grow and develop, showing up and looking so good on television. So that's a couple. I mean, with the Philly spring training here, that's still just the coolest thing in Clearwater, to have a 90+ year relationship with a major league team in a city, to see how much each side respects each other and how they work with each other to accomplish each other's goals. Like, that's just, it's a really unique and fun thing to be a part of, especially when the more negotiations you're in, you see, everybody always is out to get what's best for your organization, but to see the way that Clearwater, like the leaders that I report to, our city manager and my boss as the director, to see how they really come at it looking from the perspective of our partners and looking long term and having vision, has just been a really, really cool and unique thing to be a part of here in Clearwater.
So that's pretty cool, Kriss. And you used a term or a phrase that I haven't heard in a few months since being in the hospitality industry, since I left the hospitality industry. That's heads in beds. Got to get those heads in beds.
Yeah. I mean, it is I mean, it's sad to know what's happened in tourism destinations, but it is exciting to see that it's starting to come back. Like this morning, we had the USA Olympic softball team. So softball's back in the Olympics, which is really cool. And the girls USA girls team is training here in Clearwater, and they had I don't think they call them friendlies. I guess it's just a game. They played a game against Mexico, which is the number 5 team in the world, right in our hometown ballpark this morning, having the number 1 women's team playing against the number 5 women's team. And just to see things like that coming back. We had, as you guys saw with the Super Bowl being in Tampa, there was we had a ton of potential for some of the events and activities we were doing that were surrounding the Super Bowl. So, I was disappointed that it wasn't going to turn out the way that we planned this 2.5 years ago, but that just got over quick when you just started to get in and be like, all right, how can we be positive about this and put a good story forward? And we developed a good relationship with the Tampa host committee, and we ended up doing a celebrity flag football game out on Clearwater Beach. It was the weirdest thing. I wasn't allowed to promote it or tell anybody about it. We just set it up, and people are walking down the beach like, why is there a football field in the middle of the beach? And then that morning we were rolling in. Doug Flutie's a quarterback on one team, Donovan McNabb another, and we got all these celebrities coming in, and we had it go to ESPN News, I think is where it aired live, and then it replayed on Fox Sports and a bunch of other syndicates. So it was interesting and cool to still get some good things out of it. But I remember telling somebody if I knew how much value was in not drawing people to events, I would have been like the number 1 event producer in the world, because I've done so many that nobody shows up to, and I didn't know that was a popular thing until recently. So.
Yeah, well, it's
great. It's good to see it coming back. It's good to see
Yeah.
a lot of momentum and stuff, especially here in Florida, like just starting to rear up and get ready to go again.
Yeah, and businesses, and especially for you in your role and in your community, tourism's important. So glad to hear it's coming back. Glad to see it come back, and I hope it continues to come back very strong. Now, moving on to what you've kind of mentioned earlier, is leadership. Getting into the sports industry. So what sort of advice would you give to those looking to break into the sports world? And maybe share with us, what do you love most about the sports industry and event management?
Okay. Yeah, I one of the things that I don't know if you guys had a chance to sit through it or not, but one of the things that I really enjoyed, that we first started doing in the Florida State League when I was working in for the Miracle, and then the Pirates and Marauders were also a part of it, but the intern boot camp. It was just an opportunity for people brand new to the industry to kind of to come in and listen to people that have been sitting in their shoes before. And as someone who was an intern, I usually would always try to lobby to participate pass on the little bit of knowledge that I might have picked up along the way. And one of the things that I would always do, because it the first year that I went to it, somebody had offered this, was just handing out business cards and my number and my email after my little spiel on whatever I would talk about, and just say, you're going to think that this is such a big industry and there's so many important people that are like so much higher than I am, and what's the point of keeping this guy's contact information? But it's being offered to you. If you want to use it, I'll be happy to help you answer anything. And I think in probably the 5 or 6 years I did that, there was only one person that ever had taken me up on calling me or texting me or emailing me. And I actually still have a relationship with them today, and we still share certain texts and emails and stuff like that back and forth. But that was one thing that I remember when that was offered to me, to try and take advantage of those opportunities when you're at a conference or at an intern boot camp, or even if you're just in a new office situation with people you don't know. Sometimes you'll be surprised that the people you might think are going to be the most helpful, or the people you might think are going to be the least helpful, can end up being the most helpful in your career. And so to take advantage of building the relationships with the people that you're around and the people that are offering themselves to you, because it really is, this whole industry, and this kind of dovetails into the second part of your question. The events industry is especially live events and sports events, it's all the same in that relationships are king. It really is who you know, and it's not even just a who you know, but it's like who you can trust, and who has gone through the things with you, and that when there's fires, that you'll go through those together. And relationships are truly the best part of the live entertainment industry and the sports industry. And what I've cherished the most out of it is the people I've met along the way, the laughs that we've had, the stupid things that I've done that people remember that I did and remind me of, like Zach did before we started. But just those relationships, those little conversations, those little things that, what makes you tick? How would you do it if this happened to you? And I'm in Clearwater now, but there's a lot of things that we will go through here that, calling up Al in Michigan, like, just what do you see there? What are you doing there? Like, taking advantages of those relationships you have with people that have different experiences. It just helps you get a little bit broader of a base of how you handle things and work through things. I think if you're an aspiring leader or you're in charge of people, it just helps you be more relatable to people. The more that you know, the more that you're eager to keep learning, and not just trying to project that you have all the answers, but you're still seeking after new relationships and growth potential.
Kriss, that's all fantastic stuff. Zach and I, we've been doing this little show for probably about 6-7 months now, and we've talked to multiple people that we asked them that same question. What's so unique and amazing about the sports industry, and we get a lot of the similar responses there. It's about the relationships that you build, and I think that's something so special about the sports industry that you really don't see in a lot of other career paths. So awesome stuff there. We're going to wrap it up with one last question, Kriss. And Zach and I talk quite a bit about, obviously, sports and about leadership. We're really passionate about the leadership angle. We've touched on it a little bit already. But why don't you talk to us a little bit about what you think are some of the strong characteristics that make up some of the best leaders that you've been surrounded by in your career?
Yeah, I mean, that really is the key, no matter what industry you're in, is being if you're in a leadership opportunity, to learn from others, and to really try to watch things like this, get content, try to learn on how to become a leader. Sometimes you'll hear people say, like, oh, he's a natural leader. I don't necessarily, I think there's people that may handle themselves in a way that inspires people to kind of follow them, for sure, but that shouldn't excuse somebody for not going after and seeking after different ways to learn and to improve as a leader. So that's one of the things that I would say from a leadership perspective of the people I've been around that has really inspired me for how I am. It's knowing the people that you work with, knowing what makes them tick. I know for those who are leaders for me that I report to, and in that role of being a follower, I think as even a good leader, you should know how to follow also. I mean, there's not too many positions anywhere where you're only giving direction and you're not taking direction. So I think a big part of being a good leader is also being a good follower, and someone who can humble themselves to the environments that they're in when they're with people that they should be learning from. So for me, I think a good from the leader side of it, knowing your people, knowing that they're all different. There's going to be different things that get them to react certain ways and favorable to certain things. So knowing them, really caring about people too. I mean, I think people can smell that a mile away when you're just kind of someone who's just ordering people around or being a boss more than being a leader. A leader knows and cares about their people. They inspire them. And so that's something that I really take seriously for the people that I work with is more than anything, I care about them. I want to know what they want. I don't want people that just want to come and work for me and just do what I tell them to do and cash a paycheck for 25 years and retire. Like I want to know where they want to go in life, what's important to them, so that I can be changing my style to help them reach their the best that they can do. I think you get a lot out of people when they know that you ultimately care about them more than you care about like yourself as well. It's not always a popular thing to do, but I think honesty is part of that. So when you say caring about people and that side of it, doesn't mean that you're just telling them nice things that are gonna make them feel good every day. I think real care and love for your people is being honest with them, and when they need a check or they need to improve in an area to do it in a caring way, but to call them out on things and to find ways to improve. I don't ever like to, and I don't appreciate it when people just throw criticisms without actually understanding why somebody did what they did and then finding ways to help them do it differently. I think that's a key to a good leader as well, isn't just pointing people and telling them where to go, but it's helping them understand the why behind it. Why do we do it this way? Why is it important? What's the ultimate goal of what we're doing? And then if you can paint that picture for what the goal is and where to get in that same vision with you as the leader, then you let them go and try and figure out their way to get there. There's going to be mistakes made, so you just obviously you have to have a little judgment on when people can have a little leeway and flexibility to make mistakes. But I think that some of the best leaders I've had have allowed me some latitude to go out and make mistakes. They've encouraged me to go out and try things, to be creative. That's one of the things I've always loved in every job that I have is I'm not a cookie cutter person. I'm not just going to sit in front of a desk and do the same thing every day. I'm motivated in a lot of different areas, but I love trying things and being creative. So the best leaders for me have seen that. They know me and they've given me some framework so that I don't just run off the rails on every project I do. But they've known me enough and given me that framework and let me go and try things and screw up and then kind of be there to help pick you up and dust you off when you've done that. And so I mentioned, Steve Gliner, who was with the Fort Myers Miracle, now with the Hudson Valley Renegades, minor league baseball guy for life. Like he was great at that. Like sometimes I wonder why he gave me so much latitude to go out and do some of the things we did. But it was always good to know that no matter what would happen, that you have people that have your back. When we worked in Bradenton, Trevor was the same way. Like you knew if you screwed up bad enough, as long as you kind of went and said, "I'm sorry, I won't do it again," then he'd have your back and you'd get through it together. And the best leaders kind of develop teams instead of just have a bunch of people following them. I always love that picture and that analogy of the good leader, being the opposite of the one with the whip behind somebody, instead being the one in front, that people are following.
Kriss, I think you said so many great points there, and a lot of stuff really stuck out with me. The most important things I think that I love is the fact that you mentioned really caring about your people, taking a vested interest in them. When you care about the people that work for you, they're going to really go above and beyond the call of duty to get the job done, and letting people make mistakes, right? That's the only way that people are going to learn. So I think you nailed it with so many aspects there, and can't thank you enough for sharing some of your past examples of some great leaders you've been surrounded by. And we know you're doing great things right now as a strong leader in the city of Clearwater and in your role right now. But that wraps it up for the questions that we had for you, Kriss. We know you're a busy guy, so we can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your schedule to come and chat with Zach and I tonight. And we wish you the best of luck in all your future endeavors here, and keep doing great things down in Clearwater over there. Thanks, Kriss.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.